have you been? What have you been up to, man?
Dude, everything's been great, man. Just been learning. I've been buying a lot of books,
Mhm.
like a whole bunch. So I've been reading a lot. Just been trying to get my knowledge up in certain areas and shit like that. So, I mean, I really can't complain.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I'm assuming in conjunction with working out and
What have you
everything.
been reading?
I can show y'all if y'all can see it well. I'm reading this book right now, the Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. I saw this guy make a video on the book, right? And the book really
Yeah.
just talks about like how we kind of were born into a mentality where consumerism was our normal way of thinking. And so when you flip your mentality to, the other side of that and flip your mentality from like the slow lane thinking of how to build wealth, and instead of doing that into the fast lane thinking of how to build wealth, it's so many specific points that I have to get into, but I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I need to read some books, man. It's
Um,
been a little bit for me.
no, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Like I really enjoy reading, but my retention is probably it's close to like zero. It's so close to zero. Like I probably read um Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. Dead
That's a good one.
ass. Like I probably read it like 4 times. And I could probably only name like 4 of those laws, bro. Like I don't know what it is. Like there's certain things that I will like learn, and it just goes like through one side of my brain and out the other. Like it doesn't stay.
I
I don't
will
get
say, like, the more you read, the better your attention does get, though.
it. Yeah.
That's crazy. I have the opposite problem, P. I won't finish a book. I'll read half the book, but I'll talk about the book as if I know the whole fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah, like
I'll
you
read.
you'll talk on. I've never discussed this, like, but you'll
Mhm.
talk about football, like you know football. But I know damn well you know nothing about football.
You
You
feel
don't watch
me?
it, but you know so much at the same time, and it's like I don't get it.
Yeah, because I'll usually retain more because like I don't like to consume too much because then it starts to misconstrue my perspective on it. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. I barely watch football ever, ever. But I do. I could talk about football
I
like
just want
I
to
know
say,
that shit. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, Kevin is so built to be a politician, bro. Like,
Because I
You
can
are Kevin,
bullshit. I can
so
bullshit really well. I'm really good. I'm an A1
and see the
bullshitter.
thing
Mm-hmm.
with me, I don't speak on things I know nothing about because I know I'm gonna look stupid. I'm going to embarrass myself if I'm not well versed in the topic. So I
Uh-huh.
keep my mouth shut. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah, that's what you're saying. I learned P. There's common themes in a lot of shit. So like,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? So I don't have to be well versed all the time. Because when you think about it, there's no human being that's ever walked the earth that was well versed on every single subject. But if you have a set of like laws in your head and ideals, right? Usually, if you have good ones, right, they can be applicable to a bunch of shit. So
yep.
now it's like, okay, I don't know much about rock music, right? But I do know music is usually good if it has a high consumership, right? If it's XYZ, if it's consistent amongst if someone has multiple projects. So now I can just start talking about rock, right? And if you bring up somebody, like, okay, well, how many iconic
Yeah.
projects do they have? You know what I'm saying? What were their sales? You know, how many number ones do they have? Like statistics and shit like that. So, mm. but let's get started though, Z man.
Let's do it.
We have a list of little topics here to cover, and it's gonna get interesting. And for starters, I think we just let's talk about health a little bit, man. You work out a lot. You know what I'm saying, Pat?
True.
This dude,
Right.
for guys
That's
who
an
don't know,
understatement.
yeah, this dude is a fucking bodybuilder, okay? Or at least one in the damn training. All right. Z is 450 pounds, pure just cinder blocks.
Oh, wait.
You know what's funny? Between him and the KJ we interviewed, Petra, who you think is stronger?
Y'all talking about?
Man,
The one we went to high school with KJ,
Oh no, KJ will blow me out the water. No cap.
you think so?
Yeah, yeah.
okay, well, the only reason I'll say this, I'll only say KJ for the pure fact that most of KJ's muscles are fast twitch just because he ran track. So it's like when you're running track but he played soccer too. So shit, actually, I don't even know. But I'd imagine KJ weighs more than you. Am I wrong?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like he has definitely more type 2 muscle fibers around his body. And because he's like a bigger build, like he has like a little more fat. So like I've seen him lift and like he can put up some serious weight, but he's also like a couple years older than me. So it's like I guess if you look at it from that perspective, but yeah, he's definitely stronger than me though.
I would say this though, you like you said, so the fat percentages are a little bit different in the build. So he's shorter, right? Whereas you're taller and more lean muscle, I guess, in a sense, and you see it because you're very cut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where he's literally like cinder blocks. So I know he can push like heavy, but like in terms of ratios, I feel like the ratios between the weight and then the what you can push, you know what I'm saying, are would be somewhat even between you two.
I would say though, I will say that I feel like Z's more fit, like more. He's definitely more cut. Like that's not even a question.
Oh well, Z's one. Z, what body fat percentage? Have you measured your body fat before?
I did at Lifetime this one time, and it said something like 7, and that was 6 months ago. That was like almost half a year ago. So I don't really know if I don't even know if that's really too accurate either, because you put your foot on something and it apparently reads your percentages.
Really?
Wait, yeah. Is 7 not good?
7's good, but for him, I feel like he'd be like 6 or 5 and 5.8 or something like that.
Nah. I think I'd be like somewhere around 7, to be honest with you.
Really?
When you get down to like 5, you're looking at like, you know, like you're taking shit to get to that level. You know what I mean? Like
okay.
That's so, yeah.
Z, how do you feel, man? Because we're talking about fitness, dude. Over half the country is either overweight or obese. All right. And so you being so big on fitness, man, what does that mean to you? And Patrick as well. Mm-hmm.
That means that there's even more, because if you look at fitness and obesity, it's almost like metaphorical to other things in the American way of life. You know, most people live through ignorance, and so when we have such a big pandemic of obesity, you know, it's indicative of like how people kind of like view not only their health but like their life as a whole. You know, like people weren't taught how to eat right. People weren't taught necessarily like the value of exercise and what it can really do for you, not just like take a walk every couple of days. You know, like from our youngest years, like we weren't really taught necessarily how to do it, you know, correctly. And so I mean, there's just a bunch of people who definitely need help.
Okay, but so now tying that back into how people feel about it, right? Because now we live in an age where if you even call somebody fat, they're like, what the fuck? Like, no, there's no such thing as fat people. We're all fucking beautiful, right? And so now, Patrick, what do you, both of you guys, how do you, because I'll tell you how I feel about it. I'm like, all right, nigga, no, you can be fat as fuck. Like, I'm sorry. I don't really care. Like, if you don't want to be insulted, that's fine, right? But there's truths a lot of times. Yeah. So, like, if I'm calling you fat, yes, I may be insulting you, but dead ass, you might be overweight and might be dying at 55.
Exactly. Yes. Like, okay, so like going back, which we'll discuss later, the Kevin Samuels podcast when Joe Budden was like, you say the right things. It's just the way that you say it sometimes. It's your approach.
Okay.
So I think like with other people being like, oh, you're fat, they're like, fat's not the right term. But if I'm like, oh, you're definitely overweight for sure, and you're like, why would you say something like that? But it's like, that's 100% the truth.
You know what I mean? Know what's crazy? They're not even going for overweight anymore. Like, if you call someone overweight, niggas will dead ass like start crying. And it's not like for me to slight niggas who are overweight, but it's like, dog, like you go to the hospital, they call you overweight. You're, you know, nodding your head at the doctor. You go outside the hospital, someone calls you overweight, you're fucking going home and crying. Dog.
Let me say this though. Kevin Samuels, his approach has to be like overly direct because that's a big part of his show. You know what I'm saying? He could definitely say a lot of what he says in a nice way, but the fact that he comes and he's like not even trying to make it soft or nothing, like that's definitely more captivating for people to get to his show. But I mean, in terms of like the fat culture, I will say this: most people are living like unhealthy lives mainly because they don't have that directness. Like they don't have people in their lives telling like, "Yo, you're fat." You know what I'm saying? Like they have people actually like supporting them, like, "Hey, you want to go to McDonald's at 2 a.m. because I got a craving for some McChickens." Like that's the opposite
And
side.
you know
That's
what's crazy? People will be like, bruh, that's love. You feel me? Like I posted something the other day, like, yo, food is not a fucking love language. And people are really saying that shit is like actually love. And I'm like, bro, if your nigga actually cares about you, he will not take you out to eat every day because
yeah,
he knows what that's going to do to you long term. You're going to get into that cycle, right? And you're going to have food addictions for real with salt, sugar, and shit like that. But
yeah.
then girls would be like, no, he doesn't love me. He don't love you if he not take you out to eat. And I'm like, the fuck, this nigga's feeding you shit. He never wants to work out with you ever. Petra, you know how I know you loved your ex when you went when I saw you at the gym with her. When I saw you at the gym with her every other day, I said, damn, this nigga really fuck with her.
That's a
Yeah,
See what I'm
game.
honestly, and
saying?
like that was at the time when like when she was working out, like and she still does. She working out like crazy. I don't. I wasn't at that time. Now I am. Like I'm definitely
Uh-huh.
working out a lot more regular. But back then I was not working out regularly. So she was getting me in the gym. But I think like going back to Z's point, there's certain people that don't have other people to hold them accountable for certain things.
Mhm.
And like, cause if you watch these my like 1,000 pound lives and shit, like they'll be like, I'm going to KFC. What do you want? And you know what I mean? They'll ask them like, they'll give them this stuff. Like they'll gaslight them. They'll give them
Yeah.
all these things that they know they shouldn't be eating, but
Yeah,
they know if they don't do it, they're gonna be like, oh, you don't love me. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you? And I don't know. But I'm not saying this is for all people. Like, obviously, there are people that have tried to work out that are overweight,
Mhm.
and they just might not have the perseverance or the level of hard work that it takes, because it's hard as hell to lose weight, I imagine. Like a lot of weight.
yeah.
Um,
If you're
It,
but
starting,
yeah, there's definitely those people that are just BS, like bullshitters. So
yeah.
it goes both ways, I feel like.
so then coming off of that, right? Knowing that this country is the most gluttonous one, I think we can agree on that. Can we agree with that? This arguably is the most gluttonous country.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
knowing
easily.
that, right, when COVID-19 comes and the death rate in this country is almost higher, I think, than any other one, right? Do you feel like that played a part at all into that shit?
Oh, 150%. And not only did that play a role in it, but also like other diseases that not only stem from obesity, but from other lifestyle habits like smoking and like and drug usage that is endemic in America as well. So like our country, like people like to look at our country like, oh my God, a lot of people are dying, but they're not seeing like before COVID even hit, people were already being killed by themselves. And
Yeah.
COVID ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back in that way.
And so now, but Pat, you went and got your vaccine, right? People are getting
Yeah.
vaccinated. I
Yeah.
have not. Z, I can imagine you haven't, knowing you. Can you explain to people why you won't get a vaccine?
Okay, there's a couple of reasons why. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
just from my point of view, I've known that vaccines aren't something that should be rushed. And if they are rushed, like if they are produced within a year without FDA approval, then from my point of view, right? Like not everybody has to do this, but from me, I'm looking at it like I'm gonna wait at least a couple years to even like a decade to see what the long-term effects of getting 1, 2, 3 vaccines are per year for this vaccine that was created in less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's the first point. Secondly, like I'm already anti-vax. Like any vaccine you give me, I don't care what it's for. I'm already like I don't really need that. And some people might call that ignorant, but for me,
Yeah.
living a healthy lifestyle, eating a healthy diet, and avoiding, toxic chemicals that are in our food, in deodorant, and a lot of the stuff that we consume, I think that that's enough to get us past a lot of the health issues that we've faced like in decades past. And so vaccines seem like such an artificial thing to me, especially when you think about like the ingredients like mercury, other toxic metals. And mercury is in it because they need something to have the vaccine hold in your body for a long period of time. I think it's called an adjuvant. And so they put that in your body so that the vaccine can hold. And they tested it on mice one time, and the mice were showing neurodegenerative symptoms. So it was like basically like messing with their brain in a certain way. And mercury is already a known toxic metal. And so the fact that it's put into vaccines is just a big no-no for me. So there's just so many things wrong with the medical industry, and the fact that people look at doctors like they're some kind of gods when they make a lot of mistakes per year. There's a lot of medical malpractice that kills a lot of people per year. So I just have instant skepticism over anything like that.
Okay, but then to counter argue you, and this is not me speaking, but more so the voice of the general public is going to say, but Z, you've probably taken a vaccine to go to school. You've probably taken a vaccine for the ABC. And I can imagine you've probably taken a vaccine in your life, correct? So what, and you said something, right, that I do agree with. This one was made a little bit different in terms of how fast it was produced, stuff like that. But, I don't know if you're aware, but like it's made now with a new technology. So now they're using RNA sequencing, right?
Yeah.
Instead of their previous, just taking a weaker version of the virus and putting it in you. Right. So what makes you oppose? So the reasons why you said, is that what makes you opposed to this one more than the previous ones than you probably took early in your childhood?
Yeah, it has a really large part to play in it. Not only the new technology, but just how quick it came out. But had I had a choice for the ones that I had when I was younger, like the little flu shots or whatever, I wouldn't have taken those either. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see a point, because I've gotten the flu shot and still got the flu one year. And so it's like, how is it really stopping, what they say it's stopping, or is it kind of like a more so mass psychosis placebo effect type of thing that they're playing on most people take more of the vaccines?
Yeah. But like, they're incentivizing this shit now, because very soon, what, you got the passport, I'm assuming, or whatever the hell, the paper, what paper they gave you? What is it?
Yeah, like a little paper card.
Okay. They give a paper card, right? And very soon, I think in New York, they're already instituting like an actual passport, to where like if you go somewhere, you need this shit. One day they're gonna be like, if you want to fly, bro, you better have this shit. You're not going nowhere. Right.
Yeah.
Even certain companies are gonna be like, hey, if you don't have this shit, we're not hiring you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why they're gonna create a black market with it, because there's already enough Americans to the point where, printing out a little vaccine passport isn't gonna be a crazy thing to do.
Wait, a black market for what?
The little passport, I guess.
Not just that, but also just like getting your name in the system so that they think that you got it. Like there's just gonna be a lot of criminal activity in that sector.
But for
I feel like
yeah, P.
Well, no, I was just gonna say I feel like it's gonna be as big as a black market as like passports. I mean, like you don't see like hella niggas running around with fake passports and shit.
No,
so
but
I don't think niggas will be running around with fake vaccine cards.
I say that because, to your example, a passport is way harder to get and forge than a vaccine passport. These vaccine passports aren't the same all across the board. A lot of them are being like printed differently, different types of markings on them. And so when people are not going to want to take them, and they have zero trust in the government, which trust in the government and trust in the CDC is at like an all-time low right now. So when you look at it from that perspective, people will go to the resort of getting these in a different way than getting a vaccine.
But okay, but to your point, I have seen other vaccine like cards, and they have been different, and like they haven't had the same markings.
Yeah.
But if it does get to the point where we have to use these as a passport, we're gonna have all the same universal passport. It's not all gonna be different. So the cards that we have, we're gonna trade them in for an official, like how we have official driver's license, official guns carrying license, it's gonna be the same. So it's like,
Ooh.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it maybe it'll be on the same level as like a fake ID, but bouncers just let niggas in the bar. Like bouncers will let females in the bar because there's not enough females in the, there's not enough women inside the bar. They'll let
Yeah.
some niggas pass because they're like, this shit is so bad, but I'm gonna let you go. Like this vaccine is different. And I'm not saying like I'm pro-vax, but I'm not anti-vax. I took the vaccine only for the pure fact that my parents took it. So I was like, I might as well take the vaccine. And there's a 90% chance that I'm not gonna die. You know what I mean? Like I might get sick and I might regret it maybe like 5 years from now, but I don't think it's gonna be to the point where like
Yeah.
it's going to ruin my entire life.
Oh,
So I was
I
like,
will
why
say,
not?
VZ, before you say, I was watching something, man, and it made me laugh because you guys remember the mesothelioma commercials?
yeah.
The niggas, if you got diagnosed with mesothelioma in the past 10 years and you took the medicine, yo, call us. You may be good for a settlement. That's the one thing, Pat, that has me worried. Because take the J&J vaccine, right? They released that bitch and that
Oh,
shit, they had to, remember that? What? They had to take it
that,
off. The,
yeah.
the
What
blood
that did I
clot.
tell you one of my homeboys?
His
What were you
cousin,
saying?
his kid, wait, no, your homeboy's cousin died? Stop.
No, no, no,
Oh.
no, 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 no. He no,
That's not that wouldn't be funny. That wouldn't be funny,
no,
by the way. But I'm like, God damn.
no, no, no. His cousin, he had took it and he had like he was numb from like the waist down for like 3, 4 days.
So,
And I was like,
dog, the waist
that
down,
is
he can't even
cool.
play with his dick if he's dead. You feel me? If he's numb waist down, he can't even play with his damn dick. My only thing I'm worried about, Patrick, is 15, 20 years from now, I'm sitting on the couch with my kid, and it said, if you took the COVID-19 vaccine in the years 2020 through 2025, please call us now for a free settlement. And I'm gonna be sitting there like, God damn. Because
But
and nigga,
but
and
okay,
it,
so like
mhm.
no, I was just gonna say the sad thing about it, like I really I took the vaccine, because I mean that
Yeah.
was the civilized, the American thing to do at the time, to help improve our country from spreading COVID-19.
Sure.
But in all seriousness, I really think I could have gone with or without it. So I was like, I might
Yeah.
I'll take it. Like,
Let
and
me
I think a lot of people, even if they're listening and they're like, oh no, like I took it for a reason. You probably did take it for a reason, but the main reason was because everyone else is taking it.
And I'm so glad you said that because I see niggas post every day. I saw a girl post today talking about if you didn't get the vaccine, it's really not the power move you think it is, right? And they were like, it was like a group of them, right? The visualization was like a group of people hanging out, and then one person by themselves saying, I didn't take it. And I was sitting here like, she doesn't even process, but that's group thought right there. That's group think, only doing it because hey, we all gonna be lit and you not. And it's like, bro, it's that whole saying, like, if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you follow him? And I'm not saying you did that, right? But I'm saying I feel like a lot of other people though, even the way we're posting about it, these niggas don't post when they get STDs, P. You feel me? But when niggas was getting COVID, they posting it. And I'm saying, like, the fuck is wrong with you? You're not gonna tell us when you have herpes, chlamydia, everything else. You're not gonna post when you go into the doctor to get checked out and get tested because you think your ass is burning because your pee's hot. You feel me? But now all of a sudden, but now when your ass is under the gun for COVID and you haven't even gotten COVID, now your ass posted. And I'm just sitting there like, what's the psychology behind that? Which for me has just been hard to process.
let me say this though.
Mm-hmm.
The mesothelioma joke that you just said, the crazy part about that is that the vaccine companies actually don't have liability when people suffer adverse effects.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that was kind of, pointing me away from taking them is because, if you're going to coerce me into taking something, right? Saying I
Mm-hmm.
can't travel, I can't do this and that. Okay. Then how come these vaccine companies aren't, going to face liability if, let's say, I am numb from the waist down? That's
Yeah.
fishy. You know what I mean? And so there's that. And then there's the fact that, I mean, I don't think that you're just going to die when you take the vaccine, right?
Mhm.
If anything, I think that it's a way to produce infertility. However, that could be false too. Like these are just theories. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
This is not completely true. What I am saying is that the coercion and the fact that they're not liable for bad things happening to people is gonna be a turnoff for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah. Hold on, let me pause it real quick. But now I feel like this ties really well, Z, into politics, because it's become now a blue versus red issue. So like Democrats, liberals are typically on the side of yeah, bro, take the vaccine, da da da, and the Republicans are on the side of oh, this came a little bit too fast, right?
Actually, actually, you'd be surprised what the actual consensus is on both sides.
Oh, really? What is the consensus on both sides now? Oh, and only say that, and but actually finish with that. Finish with that.
Okay, so both sides. Okay, so remember how Trump was coming out with the vaccine, right?
Sure.
And he was like Operation Warp Speed, fastest vaccine ever. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Typical Trump vernacular. And he came into the vaccine picture, you know, like from a point of view that Democrats didn't like. They don't like anything he does, but the
Yeah.
vaccine thing, like, they were like, okay, we really don't like that. And then when he lost, they started to push it.
Yes, I believe.
And
Yeah.
so, and then what's funny is that the Republicans now, and this goes back to them being the same side of the two sides of the same coin. The Republicans now began to push the vaccines like our vaccine rollout is the fastest in history because of Donald Trump and this and that. Well, there's a large group of Americans who's left out of that big picture because when you conceptualize it, you've got the Democrats on one side, the
Mhm.
Republicans on one side. The Republicans saying our vaccine rollout is the fastest because of Trump. The Democrats saying the Trump's vaccine is stupid. We need to trust these other vaccines. And then there's Americans left out of this picture who are like, yo, I don't even want to take that shit.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So essentially what I think is going on right now, and this is kind of like big brain, like you really have to wrap your head around what the whole picture is that both sides are actually being used in a brilliant way to brainwash Americans into thinking that the vaccine is a good option. You know what I
In
mean?
terms
Because
of both parties supporting it now.
in terms of exactly from different points of view, because the Democrats might say something like, "I don't like Trump's vaccine." The Republicans might say something like, "Our vaccine rollout is great." You know what I'm saying? And red states are better because of that. But a large group of Americans are like, "We don't trust either of you. We don't want the vaccine at all."
Mhm.
And nobody's really paying attention to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say kind of to wrap up my vaccination thoughts. Um, I'm black. All three of us on this call are black.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
sir.
Black. My thing is when once the medicine began to get tied with the government in this country, I felt like something switched because I don't think medicine and politics, in science and politics, should necessarily be in the same room because political agendas typically converse whatever the medical one is, right? So, for example, take starvation in the world, right? The UN wants to do XYZ, right? But the statistics show if we just dedicated money to better healthcare systems in agriculture, sustainable agriculture, we would actually be fine. But instead, they're rolling out vaccines to help people with what's it called, right? With COVID-19. They're pumping billions into that. But we're still starving in countries and don't have the necessary, we're still going to majority die of starvation in Africa or in a lot of third world countries. You see what I'm saying? And I only say that to say, especially for people of color, bro, to trust, I don't feel like black people ever trusted their government. But now I feel like this is the first time I'm seeing black people trust their government. They will, they're the employees of the government, police officers, right, who are carried out to enforce the actions that the government sets forth, will go
Right.
out and kill you in the street. What makes you think that if the government is in cahoots with medicine, that they won't do the same? And I'm not saying they're going to do the same per se, But I'm saying if we use the same logic of we hate the police and then go vote on Sunday,
I see that.
they all work together.
I don't necessarily agree with your statement about police, but the grand scheme of your statement makes sense to me because the Black people have never really trusted the government.
Yeah,
and now we're seeing just crazy subservience to them.
Yeah, and I feel like Black
it's understandable though.
Mhm.
I will say it's justified why Black people don't trust the government.
It's justified why people don't, you said?
Well, why Black people don't trust the government. I feel like it is justified. I don't know for on my perspective, it's justified from 2000 to now. But from a lot of people's perspective, maybe it might not be. But I think all the whole consensus from like 1940, I mean, but like as long as we've been in America till now, like that's justified. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Why would we? Like we weren't even a whole person at one point.
You feel me? And my thing is like this, bro. If I was white, I would be the first dude in the fucking hospital to take the vaccine. Because my existence would tell me that the government has always done right by me in this country. You feel me? Now I'm Black. So I go look at the history of my people and I'm like, oh, okay. I look at the syphilis experiment, right? That they did to the Black people in the Tuskegee, whatever. Okay. They're going to inject them with weird shit. Okay. I look at the disparity in medicine, right? My girlfriend is a whatever major and she wants to help with the disparity of medicine in this country, right? For people, minority versus white people. And I'm like,
But okay. Kevin, let me say this though. I know a large amount of white people in this country don't trust the government though. And
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that surprises me. Because I'm like,
doesn't surprise me though, because the reason that they don't trust the government is because white people have like in this country at least, they have a sense of like if you look at the Revolutionary War, the history of the country, you know what I'm saying, like how the country
the freedom of choice,
you know what I mean? Like they have that mentality ingrained in them, and so like Black people and white people ironically have a lot of similarities. We've just kind of been divided, you know. Slavery obviously is the biggest divider there. But as we've gone on, like we've been given opportunities to kind of like unify, but I think that there are certain like people who profit from race baiting, like Black Lives Matter, you know, like a lot of other people. So,
and I feel this is a perfect segue now to get into our further politics and to kind of finish up our politics. You, Z, when Trump was in office, as our friend, you pretty much you supported him, correct?
I supported him, but I thought he was too weak.
Okay, you thought he was too weak, and so you know, me and Patrick, I don't know if do you fuck with Donald Trump?
No, I mean like in what terms?
Just I guess in a general term, just in general.
Nah, I mean he's an asshole, and for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's some good assholes for sure.
Yeah,
but he's an asshole for the wrong reasons.
And so
I don't fuck with him.
I wanna wait. I wanna like more accurately clarify my standing on Donald Trump though.
Okay.
I think that he's a puppet. I like the idea of Donald Trump. I like the idea of somebody who is going against the status quo. But when I say he's too weak, I say that because I feel as if he wasn't really taking that stance and that he was just a puppet pretending to.
Okay, but that being said, a lot of people who are going to watch this are going to be like, but Trump's a racist, da 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 da, right?
Sure.
How do you feel? Sure. How do you? Okay, so Patrick said he is for sure, right? How do you feel about that? Because I would also argue he is for sure from the things that I've seen that have been relayed to me through the media, and I'm sure.
But you know, well, before there's a crazy, and I'm pretty sure Z has seen it too. Man, what's that nigga's name?
What are you talking about?
Crowder. You know what I'm talking about, right? Crowder. Steven Crowder. Yeah. So he has these segments where he'll say blah 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 blah, change my mind. Yeah. And he has a whole segment where Trump is not racist, change my mind. And to his sense, like when he does his debates, he does it to like the literal term of, you know, a racist. And people were, you know, bringing up when Trump said like Africa is a shithole country, and he compared black people to monkeys, and even Steven Crowder wouldn't classify that as racist. You know what I
Really?
mean? And like and you know what I mean in the literal term, I feel like. But I mean, like
I'm gonna tell you.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
care.
tell
Like if
you
you're
when I knew Trump for me was a certified racist. When I watched the Central Park 5 documentary, I said this dude took out a fucking ad in the newspaper to get 5 dudes who were innocent of a charge, the death penalty in the state of New York. And for me, I was like, dude, knowing the influence that he has. So for me, that was when I was like, okay, and granted the evidence that they had at the time. So I was like, okay, dog, this for me just yells racism. Now that's my personal thing. A lot of people will say, okay, it's the things that he does today, right? Those you can debate whether those are racist or not. A lot of people would argue they're racist. For you, Z, do you feel like he's racist at all?
Okay, so that's a huge question, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
And I'll try to answer it the best I possibly can. I haven't seen the documentary you're talking about,
Of course.
but I will ask you this. Do you know if it was completely racially motivated or if it was just something that he did to profit in another area?
That's a very good question. And going off of Patrick Stephen Crowder, is that his name?
Steven
Right,
Crowder,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Steven
familiar
Crowder.
with him, and he does. I've seen kind of his segments and seen the way he goes about in his debates. Right, when dudes, I've always felt like this in my life. When guys go to the literal terms of something,
Yeah.
usually I feel like they are trying to find an escapism in an argument.
Wait, no, Kevin, wait.
Yeah,
But if we're going to discuss, if people are going to come together to discuss whether or not something is something, right?
you
Like
need
if
absolutely you need a basis. You need
exactly
a basis of ideas.
stands
But that
of that,
basis sometimes isn't the exact literal
And
term
not even
per
that, I just
se.
feel like it's used to misconstrue. Because let me say this, Z, if you are correct in the sense of, okay, was that racially motivated? I couldn't prove that, right? If you took me to court and say, prove to me this was racially motivated, I technically couldn't prove that, right? Because in the grand scheme, you could just say, well, Trump thought those guys actually raped that girl, correct?
right?
We could say that. But then when it comes to, okay, my question would be, but there's other rapists. I don't think Trump is taking out a newspaper article for every rapist in New York.
Right.
It just so happened that these specific guys. Then my next question is then what makes them different? What makes these guys who are convicted of a crime that's actually very prevalent in this country different than anybody else? And I would then argue, I think it's the skin color of the gentleman and then the skin color of the person who was perceived to be the victim at the time. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And so I think I'm gonna say this, you're right, but my thinking is it's always implied. I think racism is an implied thing. You see what I'm saying?
But if it's always gonna be an implied thing, then any action can be defined as racist by somebody who doesn't like that action. And so
Absolutely.
that's my point. It's like we have to exist from an objective point of view because you might start calling somebody who's not really racist and start to demean the actual like the power of that word.
Absolutely. And I think you're 100% correct. And I think that's something I'm actually very grateful having met you and gotten to know you very well, because you've helped me be able to objectify, I guess, that word in the sense of not just using it loosely for everything that I see, which is why now I try to be very picky, I guess, when I do use the term. And I think the majority of people, I'm not gonna lie, do use racism. I'm not gonna say as a scapegoat for a lot of things, but in a sense, actually, yes, a scapegoat for a lot of things or actions when
I
they're
think
not
that
when the
people,
actions are not in people's favor.
I think that people use it way too emotionally. Like there's a saying that if you're angry, don't say anything because you're not really gonna mean what you say. And when people are seeing something emotional, like for example, the Ma'Khia Bryant shooting that just happened, we can talk about that if you want to. People were saying that it's racially motivated that he shot her when that wasn't the case.
I think I think we should talk about that right now. So now,
Well, I'm gonna just say like before I don't know, like I probably know probably like 15-20%, but I heard that he came to the scene and within like 15 seconds or something that he shot her. I don't know how true that is.
Is this the
'cause I hadn't
recent?
looked
Is
into
this
it.
the recent shooting with the young girl in Ohio?
The
Yeah,
young
she,
girl, yeah. And then
Okay.
they said that he said Blue Lives Matter, but this, like I said, this is all through social media, bro. So this all could be fake. But as far as the Anthony Hampton and the Dante Wright, I know I looked into both of those 100%. So I could definitely
B,
speak on
okay,
those.
you
so
posted a video.
wait. Before we go on to this, because we're gonna have a pretty big topic. I still didn't say whether or not I thought Donald Trump was racist.
Absolutely.
So I'll say this about Donald Trump. I'll say that I think he, first of all, is a businessman, and I think that in the world of business that he was in from such a young age, there are a lot of amoral things that he probably did. And on top of that, he may have even had a negative implication with Black people, especially growing up in New York. And I will also say that he's also a very belligerent person at times. But I will not say that he is racist purely upon the fact that, first of all, he had a really large amount of Black people within his staff when he was president. He did a lot for Black people as well, like the First Step Act, a couple other things that I can't really remember right now, like directly helping Black people. And Black businesses were at an all-time high rate of success as well. So in terms of what he did for Black people, if he was actually racist, he wouldn't have actually produced those results for Black people, in my opinion.
That's an interesting take, Z. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's an interesting take.
But so on the Ma'Khia Bryant shooting, them, they got the YouTube set up. You look like Kevin Samuels right now, bro.
That's
because he has the professional setup in the background and shit too.
Yeah, that's effective for a 50-year-old man. This is my dad's office.
But are you all right? I'm gonna ask, and I want us to all give our take and in the question I'm about to ask. So the recent shooting of Ma'Khia Bryant. Not only so we all got to see whatever videos were allocated to us, right, through the media.
I didn't get
the full body.
You never got to watch it, P?
I didn't get to watch it.
All right, fuck it. I'm going to share the screen. We're going to watch this shit right now.
Okay, word.
They have a body cam?
Do you want to share your thoughts first?
You can share your thoughts, and then I'll go, and then P goes.
Man, dog, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. Yeah, P, this is a lot different. And Pat, you might want to bring your mic closer, but this is a lot different than what I was shown in media and what I was told in the narrative that I'm seeing out. The narrative I read, okay, was that she was a part of a foster home or something like that, and they were treating her terrible. They were jumping her, okay, and she was fighting back. Now, that was what I was told. What I just watched and from how it was explained was that girl, so Ma'Khia Bryant appeared to be fighting somebody, right? Now, the man kicked the person that Ma'Khia was fighting. So in my head, I'm like, okay, is she being jumped if someone's helping her? And then, you know what I'm saying? And then she has the knife, and then she looks like she's about to go in to stab the girl in the pink. Correct? And so then it appears the officer took the shots at that moment when it appears that she's about to stab the girl in the pink. That being said, I don't know anything that might have happened before, and the context is only what we watched, right? So we don't know the actual full context and to the extent of where that altercation was going. But I'm not gonna lie, I have
Let me say this.
Yeah.
I will say there's a little bit more context that I do know of. There was
but like I guess for those who are watching, do you know the source of that and the verifiability, I guess, in a sense?
Yeah, you can look it up on YouTube. There's a couple guys who did a lot of research on it, and you can also probably like find it yourself. If you look up,
like
I'm referencing the 911 call that went out for that specific incident. And so you can probably look that up. I'm pretty sure that's there for our ears. But a lot of people were saying that Micaiah was the one who called 911 for their help, and
Yeah.
then they ended up pulling up and shooting her. That's actually false. It was, I believe, the girl in pink who had called 911 saying that Micaiah was being aggressive because it was a foster home. But from my knowledge, she had only been living there, Micaiah, for a couple months, right? Since like the beginning of the year. So essentially like a lot of stuff like was happening and they got into conflict. And so from the footage, I mean, if we break it down piece by piece, we're seeing the police officer coming out of his car and seeing all of that happen, right? Like Micaiah hitting the first girl getting kicked, and then but he sees Micaiah's hand with the knife. Now, what a lot of people take issue with is the fact that he shot her, obviously, and her being 16. First of all, he couldn't have known if she was 16. That's a pretty big girl if you saw the video. Like, he couldn't have known what her age was just pulling up. Second of all, her having the knife implies that she has a lethal weapon and she was about to use it, which is what the officer saw, right? A lot of people are saying stuff like he should have deployed his taser. The thing about tasers that people don't understand, they're not always 100% effective. In fact, they're like a lot less than that. Like sometimes tasers even get into somebody and don't like work. Sometimes they get on your clothes and they don't actually pierce the skin. Sometimes it's a failure of deployment. There's a lot of stuff that goes wrong with tasers. So within the context of the law, the officer was absolutely permitted to use lethal force when he sees somebody attacking a third party. You know what I mean? If I'm a cop and I walk up onto somebody who's about to kill somebody with a knife, I'm justified in using lethal force to stop that from happening, which is exactly what he did. And so it's pretty cut and dry to me, like what it was. Was it tragic? Was it sad? Yes. She's 16 years old. Nobody wants that to happen. But from my perspective, what needs to be discussed here is how that child was raised and why she felt it was okay to pick up a knife and potentially kill somebody. Like that's exactly what she would have
I
done.
will say this though, the counter argument to that is this. They say the girl having lived in that foster home was being treated terribly. Okay. They say that I guess she was being abused. And this, when I say they, this is what I read in the media. Okay. So I don't know how true, 100%
It was
true.
actually the foster mother's birthday,
Uh-huh.
and the foster mother they had a disagreement, and this is actually the the information coming from a neighbor who was outside at the time watching this kind of all go down. And it was the foster mother's birthday, and they had locked Micaiah out of the house for some reason. Nobody knows why, but that had happened. And then from there, the conflict started to occur.
Okay. All right. Well, actually, I'm gonna say this. My piece is as far as this, and it seems to be a common theme with a lot of these killings that I see. I feel personally, and I feel a lot of people feel this as well, that I guess police officers given the training, and like you said, I guess they're permitted in using lethal force if they see a weapon, right? If they see a weapon. But I
Not a
do,
weapon, not just a weapon. If they see a weapon on you, they don't know if you're legally allowed to have that weapon. We can have knives. What I'm saying is if they see you in the act of trying to use that weapon against another person, then they're permitted to use lethal force.
okay. My only thing, my takeaway from it initially, and now speaking after having watched the whole video is, do you not feel that the cop, there's any other way that the cop could have handled the situation?
Exactly.
Wait, did he okay, two things. One, Makai is still alive, right? She's
I
still
believe
living?
she's dead. She's dead.
She's dead. She died?
Rest in peace. Yes,
Yeah,
she passed.
Okay. So he shot her above the waist.
that's you're not gonna shoot somebody in the legs to incapacitate them. You're supposed to shoot them and put them down. And so
Why
when
why
people
why is that though? Do you know
Yeah,
why that
why
is?
do you shoot above the
why?
waist?
Because the legs are not a good thing to aim for. You know,
Why?
because legs move, right? Legs. If you shoot somebody in the legs, I've seen somebody take 20 shots and not go down. right?
I don't
You're
think that's
supposed to shoot
physically
somebody
possible.
center mass. You're supposed to shoot somebody center mass. And plus, the legs, by the way, if you shoot somebody in the legs, there's a high chance that they bleed out extremely fast. The legs aren't just some safe place to shoot somebody. If you shoot somebody anywhere, that's lethal force against them.
But
Nah.
then after that though, okay, in this case, 4 shots. Is that not excessive at all?
That's what it took to put her down.
Nah,
Like,
he
one
did it.
shot
It was
was-
back to back.
You're not
Those were
because
back to back.
I think a lot of people are operating from the mentality that, oh, it has to be enough, you know, like one shot, that's got to be enough. No, a police officer is trained to shoot somebody until they're down. So in that situation, Micaiah obviously wasn't down until, you know, the fourth shot.
Do you not think that's a flaw in police training then? If they're trained to shoot someone until they're dead? Because we hear these
No, it's
crazy
not.
ass. You don't think so?
No, I think
Because
this.
the reason-
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. I think
Mhm.
the biggest thing with all of these police shootings, the biggest theme is easily flaws in police training. I mean, you see it with the Dante Wright shooting. She thought she put out her taser. I mean, obviously that's a high pressure situation, but that's just a flaw. Like you're a police officer. That's
Absolutely.
that's your job.
Do you feel that was a flaw, Z, in police training for her at least, or at least in just her act? Do you feel like that was just the refusal
So
to pull out taser? Huh?
before we get onto that, I want to say that it's not a flaw for a police officer to shoot somebody until they're down, because that person can still offer themselves as a threat, regardless if they've taken 3 shots or 10 shots, especially if they're on drugs. And this isn't necessarily pertaining to Micaiah Bryant, but in terms of a police officer, somebody can still shoot you if you put 2 shots in them or 10 shots in them. You know, you put them, you shoot them enough until they're down. That's it, period. Because if somebody's coming at you, Kevin, and you have a gun on you, and you shoot them 2 times and like, oh, that's enough. You know, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? That's just crazy. 3 shots, they can still kill you. You know what I'm saying? Bullets aren't just like, bullets don't just stop people. It's not Call of Duty. Bullets are like pieces of metal that go into you, and you have to shoot somebody until they show, you know, signs that they're not a threat anymore. And so, you know, it seems harsh, but it's like that's the way it has to be.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna say this.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he needed to shoot her until she was down. I just think he needed to shoot her to the point where she dropped her lethal weapon.
I'm not gonna
You
lie
know what
to
I
you.
mean?
I
Like,
felt like he could have apprehended her another way. And this is me speaking off of Kevin, right? So I told Patrick this. I told him I felt like, bro, a 16-year-old girl, she's a big girl, yes, but I'm a grown-ass man. I'm pinning this girl to the ground.
But
Does that
Kevin,
make sense?
I mean, I'm pretty sure if he could have,
But
he could have tackled her in this. And
let me say this though. How did you guys see how close she was with the knife?
yeah, she was mad
And
close
how
to
She was,
her.
yeah.
from he was about 2 to 3 yards away. She was less than a foot away from her with the knife.
But let
Yeah,
me
for sure.
ask you though, does the lady in the pink die with the stab? Because
She-
yeah, she
I don't
might get
think so.
stabbed. She might get stabbed one time, but I don't think
Most
anyone
likely
dies
not.
that day. I
Because
don't
look,
think
okay,
anyone-
so
that's
so Z, right?
That's you thinking that, but you don't know if she could have got stabbed in the face, neck, or the shoulder.
absolutely, but I'm saying I'm
also died. Nobody
absolutely, but I'm going off of what we know, and I'm only saying this because Z, I'm sure if I'm a police officer today, I know the implications that go on if I kill someone that's of color. Okay, you see what I'm saying? I know the implications that will be put on me. So
But
knowing that,
not-
knowing that if I come into that situation, right, I have to play the game of gambling. I rather gamble that the woman who get, huh?
Does that mean he's not supposed to protect the girl in Pink's life?
listen,
No, he would still be protecting her just in a different way. I'm saying I got to gamble that she'll be okay with one stab wound versus my gunshots until she gets down. Does that make sense?
The gun was the easiest way to eliminate that
But
threat.
yeah, but the problem is though, that's the easiest way to eliminate every threat. That you see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But
That's-
I don't feel. But a policeman's job isn't meant to just be easy.
I was
That's the
just
reason
gonna
why they
say-
get the training.
No.
Huh?
A policeman's job is to be efficient.
No,
Not
it's not.
just
Is it?
It's
Is it?
not. Their job is
Be-
not to be.
I
efficient.
don't. Are they not social servants to a
Wait,
degree?
wait, wait,
Because
wait, wait. Okay. So if you call a cop to your house, right?
Yeah.
let's just say in a hypothetical world, you call a cop to your house because there's robbers at your door trying to come in. You don't
Okay.
want the police officer to be efficient in removing those people from your house?
Well, no, actually, no. Okay, no. Well, okay, for them,
dive into his mentality.
for them, well, let me say this. But okay, for them to get to my house, for sure, I want them to get there efficiently as possible. But when it comes to them getting outside of my house,
threat.
Huh?
I'm talking about deal with the threat.
I think though, Z, I will say this. I think that connotations of efficiency change depending on the situation. So take, for example, I'm going to give a personal example, and then I'm going to come back to your example, okay? So one day my car broke down. This is a true story, right? And two cops came, they took me to the, they had a friend who tows cars. They helped tow my car to the tire thing. You feel me? They even took me back to my car. Dude, they had a million other things they could have been doing that day. That's not very, no, it is official. No, absolutely. Yeah. No. It's official on their part in terms of helping me, but in terms of society, those cops could have been used to do something else. They didn't need to take me to my shit. You see what I'm saying? They didn't need to help me.
Here's the thing about that though. Police officers, they're not living in Arkham, you know what I'm saying, in Batman's world. Things aren't always going on. If they really had to,
absolutely,
they would have, but they had the opportunity to help you, and they did. So
absolutely,
they were helping you. If there was a shots fired somewhere, they would have been off.
Okay, all right. Then let me give a different example than from that. Okay, a police officer pulls someone over, correct?
Sure.
All right, and they don't know whether that person has a gun or not, right? They're wondering to themselves. Okay. Now, the most efficient way would be to try and take care of it at that moment, correct?
Do you mean kill them?
No, not kill them, but try to figure out whether they have that weapon at that moment, whether that's apprehending the person, getting them out the car and doing a search, right?
Right.
Or whatever other method a police officer would do, right? But then we've seen that go sour before, okay? Now, the inefficient way would be to call for backup, right?
Why would that be the inefficient way?
Because you could have already, we just said you could have already taken care of it yourself and instigated a search, right?
But what I'm saying, why I say that is because if I'm a lone cop and I arrive on scene and there's 2 or 3 guys in a car and I want to know if they have a gun, backup is actually like a smart thing to do, because if I'm alone, then I'm obviously
but the most efficient in the time, the easiest way.
Efficiency is one thing, but you're not going to be an efficient cop if you're dead.
Absolutely. And that's okay. All right. I see what you're saying, but do you see what I'm saying though? That efficiency.
I see what you're saying, but I disagree with it.
I'm saying,
okay, look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. In the what's your last name again?
Ma'Khia Bryant.
Ma'Khia Bryant. In the Ma'Khia Bryant shooting, I don't think efficiency was the main priority. Like, there was nothing that he needed to be efficient for in that situation. I just think he needed
didn't have to be efficient to save the pink girl's life.
He just needed to get I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying. He just needed to get the lethal weapon out of Ma'Khia's hands so the girl in the pink wouldn't die.
And how did he do that? But how does he do that though?
You see that goes back to your point when you talk about someone being shot 20 times in the legs and them still standing. I would put, honestly, all the money that I have in my name that probably never happened.
I'm saying that if he shot Ma'Khia in the legs, there's a solid chance she would have still been able.
There is not a solid chance. There may be like a 5 or 3% chance that she'd be standing.
I'm not saying no. I didn't say standing. I said that there's a solid chance she would still be able to stab her. That's what I'm saying.
So you're trying to tell me
shot in the chest is her feeling that enough to say to fall to the ground and the pink girl's life being saved. That's
my one counter for this though, Z, is this. Do you not ever feel, because in business they talk about efficiency, right? But then they have mosquito.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in business, they talk about efficiency as well. And in other areas and other professions, there's efficiency. But they do talk about when efficiency does get lost in terms of desired outcomes. Okay. So I feel like when you're trying to achieve a desired outcome, which is everyone being alive at the end of the day, right? And no one dying, right? Efficiency can get lost in that. Because then the efficient thing to do would, just be able to pull out your gun and apprehend the subject and put them down. Whereas if you're trying to get the desired outcome of everyone being alive, you go and tackle her, you risk the stabbing of her, correct? Right? But you gamble that one stabbing, right, with a kitchen knife with someone who's not formally trained on how to use a knife would be less than 4 shots to that person. Does that make sense at all?
It made sense, as in, like, I understand your point, but what I'm saying is that reality isn't, favorable towards desired outcomes 100% of the time. And for him to run and try to tackle her means that she would have gotten stabbed somewhere. And let me say this. She either could have survived or could not have. That's a 50-50 chance. Let's just say 50-50. And that's not for the officer to risk. The officer is there to eliminate a threat, and he did so.
Is that an officer's objective at every time?
No, it's not. But it was his objective there.
Absolutely. Okay. Scenario. Okay, but I'm saying there's a 50, because I don't think the percentage is right.
Well, it could vary. It could obviously.
Let me just ask you an isolated question.
There is the chance that she could have been stabbed.
Okay, let me ask you an isolated question then, coming off that point. Do you think there's a higher chance of you surviving one stab with a knife or 4 gunshots? Which one?
Dude, people really underestimate knives, bro. Like I
just want the answer to that question though. Do you think you're gonna survive one stabbing or 4 gunshots? Which one do you think on any given day you're gonna survive?
Dude, I that's not even something I can answer, to be honest, because I don't know.
4 shots above the waist versus stab wound in the shoulder.
No. You're implying that she was definitely going to be stabbed in the shoulder.
Okay, let's say she got stabbed in her cheek.
Okay. No, let's go with what we know. Let's just go with what we know, Patrick. 4 shots in the midsection, like you said, that officers have to target, or a stabbing that can vary across the body. Which one do you think you're going to survive more?
Yeah.
Wait. This question right here is not a good one.
I don't want to ask it because I understand. It's meant to box you in. I know.
Absolutely.
I know. And I don't want to have to ask it. But these are the questions that people would ask you, Z.
Well, let me say this, though. It's not a good question, in my opinion. Okay. Because we're comparing the lethality of these two things. As opposed to looking at this scenario as a whole. And so the officer pulls off, and Ma'Khia Bryant is about to use lethal force against this girl. We can sit here and debate all day whether or not a knife is worse than 4 bullets or
okay.
But Ma'Khia Bryant had the chance to kill her, and the officer removed that threat. Now, could you have dealt with it a different way, Kevin? You may have been able to think around and tackle her dumb quick, or I don't know. But that officer, bro, he didn't make that decision, and he was justified.
Okay. So I think the conclusion then. Okay, so I think though, Z, you answer what and you said what I kind of wanted to hear in the sense of this, bro. People expect police officers to generate desired outcomes, based off of their perception of what they know in life. So for example, take the average civilian. I've never been in a life and death situation of that magnitude, right? So I can only speak to what I know. A police officer presumably would be in more of those situations, correct?
Yeah.
So people expect that with that training and having been in more situations, that they can produce a desired outcome that they see in their heads, having never been in one. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. So I do see what you're saying, but I would rephrase one thing that you said. People expect police to manufacture the best desired income, not the desired income. Because like I said before, reality doesn't reward us the desired income. You know what I'm saying? You can want, but reality is often not going to give you that. You have to sit there and you have to weigh and measure what's the best case scenario that could happen from this.
You know what's funny though?
Split second decision, that police officer had to make a choice. We're sitting here debating this on our own time, comfortable in our house. He's there in a split second. What's gonna happen? You know what I'm saying?
That's his job.
And he relied on his training.
And I'm glad you said this because I do feel this is a difference in the belief of because of ideologies in a sense, right?
Right.
You are operating under the ideology of reality, which is not an ideology that a lot of people I operate under, right? Because
Right.
reality at times can be the killer of dreams and so forth. So now I'm going to transition now. Take the Derek Chauvin and George Floyd incidents. Okay.
Yep.
This was not a split second decision at all.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
This is like, I'm gonna just say this like point blank out.
P.
My conclusion is pretty simple. He flat out killed him. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no going around it.
I'm about to say something. I gotta go pee. No cap.
Go ahead. Go pee. Go pee. I'm gonna pause it. I gotta pee too. So I'm gonna pause this. Let's go. Z, the George Floyd, bro. Right. He just recently got convicted. And I would like to assume that these guys who convicted him and persecuted him and put him in jail are more educated than you and me and Patrick. Assuming, right? Given the evidence that they had the full extent to all the evidence that they wanted. And this man, Derek Chauvin, went to jail. Okay. How do you feel about that conviction? Do you feel like it was correct?
No, and I'll say this. I believe it was incorrect for a number of different factors, and I'm just going to list them out in as simple as a way as possible.
Okay.
First of all, right, Derek Chauvin he was convicted of second-degree murder, if I'm correct.
He was convicted of all three, I think. Well, he was charged for what charges was he? Because he was convicted of.
Let's look it up. I'll share the screen. Let's look it up.
They said all three charges. I don't know what all three charges were, but
no, he had a couple of three, but I think he had second-degree murder for sure, though.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right.
My computer took me out. Yeah, I'm back in.
All right. What was Derek Chauvin convicted? I don't even know if I spelled his name right.
Yeah, there was a U, but you're good.
It's fine. They'll figure it out. Murder. He accused of second-degree unintentional murder. Oh.
Yeah. See, he was convicted
third-degree murder, which is basically manslaughter, right?
So now look up what second-degree unintentional murder is.
That's like a manslaughter charge, meaning that you didn't have the intention of killing them that day, right? But you showed up to the scene, that person died, and you are connected to it.
No, but in order for that to happen, right, you have to actually be in the act of committing a felony.
What, for manslaughter?
No, for second degree.
Oh, for second degree, whether it be a felony?
Look it up so it can be more accurate. But I'm
okay. What is second degree unintentional murder? Okay, you see my screen? Second degree unintentional murder, also called felony murder, okay, occurs when an individual unintentionally caused the death of another while committing a felony.
Okay, so okay. Kevin, let me kind of say this.
Okay.
How was it that Derek Chauvin is convicted of felony murder when he wasn't there to commit a felony? However, George Floyd did end up dying. What felony was he initially?
Okay, wait.
I was waiting.
Actually, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say, I honestly, I don't think at the scene he was committing a felony. But I will say, did they say at the scene is a felony? Because what
you are there committing a felony as someone died.
For example, you're robbing a gas station, and the dude ends up dying.
Yeah,
he gets up shot. That's what it is. So how did Chauvin? No matter what you think about him kneeling on his neck, how do you think that he was committing a felony when he was getting to that scene?
Not intentional, but him being fully aware of the stoppage of passage of air.
That's just murder if you're gonna bring it to that.
So I mean it is. So that's first.
Here's the thing with legalities that get difficult. I have a friend that majors in this bullshit, right? Now, number one, I'm gonna say two things, but I'm gonna just start off with the first one. The felony that he could have been being accused of is assault. So if you assault someone and someone ends up dying, that's second degree murder because you were committing a felony at the time of the murder. Does that make sense? So the argument for the assault would be that the knee on the neck would be the initial assault that then turned into because he didn't die on impact, right? So that knee on the neck for 9.5 minutes would be considered to be the initial assault that led into the death, which is the felony before the murder. Does that make sense?
The knee on his neck is actually a restraint that's taught to him by
absolutely. You're 100% correct, and I think they need to change that. I think the cops should change that.
So I don't even know if they were held to any liability, but I want to say this though, because I didn't really finish my whole like reason why.
Finish what you were saying.
The jury, there were members of the jury who actually said, and you can look this up, they actually said that they were afraid of the mob attacking their home. They didn't want their families to be targeted. If they were to give Chauvin a conviction that was positive on his end. And to back this up, I don't know if y'all saw this, but Maxine Waters, if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
Maxine Waters, she's I don't think she's a congresswoman, but she's a politician, right? Let's just say that, because I need to look up what exactly she is, but she's a well-known politician. And she went out in the streets and said, if they don't, something along the lines of, if they don't convict Chauvin, of just murder, and we need to get more confrontational, we need to, like riling people up. And so the judge in that situation, he was actually saying like, yo, you need to stop, right? Because what you're doing is you're making this conviction much harder for the judicial system to work itself out. You know what I mean? Like it'd be like if I was being convicted of something, right? And like let's just say I didn't do it, right? But there's enough people that hate me to where like the jury is afraid for their lives enough to where they're going to convict me even though the evidence points against that. That's what essentially kind of happened in this, and that's why I wanted you to look up the second degree the second degree unintentional murder. It's because there's a lot of things that went into his conviction that should not have, based upon the fact that the jury was actually scared and they wanted to be sequestered, which I mean is like hidden, you know what I mean, like away from the public, but they weren't given that. And so they're gonna appeal this trial, I'm almost positive, and they're they're probably gonna win that appeal too, because on legal terms, a lot of stuff that they got very wrong, and it's probably gonna piss a lot of people off too.
I'm gonna say this though.
Well, wait. What do you think that should have been the outcome in this situation?
Yeah.
Based upon the evidence that was given in George Floyd's autopsy and the level of fentanyl that was in the system, and on the fact that the restraint being used by Chauvin wasn't necessarily one that's meant to kill somebody, but was one that was taught by his department and one that I presume he's used before. George Floyd, in the body cam footage of him being restrained and initially arrested, was actually claiming that he couldn't breathe before they had actually even put him on the ground. And so when he did end up dying, there's a lot of evidence to point that it was self-inflicted, meaning like the drugs that he was on and the lethal level of fentanyl in the system was what caused his death, and not necessarily Chauvin. However, I will say this: Chauvin being on his neck, that has so many implications, and he should have read into that. 8 minutes before George Floyd, died. Like white cop on black man's neck, cameras all around you. Get off. He's not going anywhere. And so, do I think that Chauvin is completely just innocent? Absolutely not. But I don't think that it's racially motivated. One, and also I don't think that it's a clear and cut example of just murder. That's what I don't think it was.
So then I guess in that sense, all right, there's so much to unpack with what you said. Okay, no racial implication, right? Racial implications can't really be used in the court system anyway.
Because we don't know that. Chauvin could very well be a racist, right?
Yeah, I agree on that.
We don't know that.
No. I think they had found evidence on his social media platforms that he was racist.
Maybe so. Maybe he was implicated, but we initially, let's just say that that's like well-known news that I just haven't heard of. We don't know that he's just a racist. We can't just judge that off of how we feel about the
Okay,
situation.
so then what charge do you said you don't believe he's innocent? So what charge should he be been given? Manslaughter?
Let's
Just
say,
third degree?
let's a lot of people have been saying manslaughter, and I can kind of see the justification for that. Even though I just said everything I just said about George Floyd and the drugs that was in his system at the time of death,
Okay.
I think that Chauvin being on his neck, and like there could have possibly been like
Yeah, but I don't like could have possibly
Nah,
only
but they
because
no, let me say this. There could have possibly been the like he died from the result of the knee on his neck as well as drugs. So it like a combination effect of things.
but here's the thing in the judicial system you cannot convict drugs, right? You don't go to the thing and they say, okay, weed is going to be the cause of death and we're going to sentence weed to 10 years in prison.
No.
They got to put a person to it.
Fentanyl being in your body is key evidence in the autopsy.
I did see that in the trial though. I did see that they said that there was drugs in his system at the time, but I think the autopsy officially ruled that the fentanyl was not the main reason why he died.
Which is also very controversial too. Like a lot of people saw that and was like, why was that ruled out? Like,
okay,
no, I mean, but that's what the autopsy said. That's what they said.
I'm gonna ask another question, Z, to box you in, and these are the questions that the public would ask.
Box me in, man. I'm about to break out.
I know, but Z, I told you I'm gonna ask you the questions that the public would ask you if you said these things, right? So the question I'm gonna ask is, Z, do you think he dies that day if Chauvin wasn't on his neck? Do you think he dies that day?
And that's a very good question.
You see what I'm saying?
Possibly, but I still don't know that. I don't know. This is a good hypothetical, but at the end of the day, it is a hypothetical. George Floyd could have exacerbated his death, and you know what I'm saying, died another way. But the fact that he committed the crime and ended himself in that situation, he kind of led to his own death. Because if you look at the body cam footage, he wasn't just on the ground. Like they didn't automatically stick him on the ground. They were actually.
What was he being arrested for? He was being arrested for what?
Counterfeit.
So he did that, right? And they called the police on him, and he was still in his car outside of the place where he did it. So the police, they approached him, and that's what happened. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can question about that situation, but that's what we're given.
Okay.
Kev, share the screen. I want to see, because I watched the body cam.
Yeah, I'm about to share the screen. And give me.
Do you think maybe like halfway out the holster? Like, I mean, he's a police officer, so he should be able to pull out his gun and fire at George Floyd faster than George Floyd can pull out the gun out of wherever he was pulling it out of and shoot the officer. He is a police officer at the end of the day, and you don't know that.
Fuck that, Z. I'm gonna say this, bro. I'm gonna say this.
Cops getting killed.
I'm gonna say this, Z. Would you be nervous if someone put a gun out on you? Would you be nervous?
Stop.
Okay, dog. I get nervous when I just get stopped. If the dude comes to my shit with the gun already out, god damn.
But to refute that though, why isn't he showing him both of his hands, and why is his right hand reaching for something?
Well, like you said,
okay, be nervous, right? It's a gun in your face, right? But comply so that it doesn't escalate.
No. Z, you can't say that because there are guys who have complied and still died.
100%.
Oh, so then if I, but this is
okay. Now that's the thing. And I agree with you. One bad cop outshines 100 good cops, right? You don't want to take that risk. However, compliance with a police officer is your best chance of getting out of that situation alive. Period.
I agree.
Okay, Patrick, you agree with that? We had this discussion in the summertime. I told both of you guys, if I am black today after George Floyd's killing, and I get stopped by the cops, and I'm compliant, and this dude pulls out a gun, I am going to be nervous as
hell. No, trust me. Like I'm
going to be nervous as fuck, even if I'm complying.
This is an agreement on both y'all sides. So like So okay, so say if, like you said, the police officer comes to you and
Okay.
you're complying and he's still pulling out the gun. You're like, all right, what the fuck? Like, I don't know what to do. But in Z's defense, I kind of get what he's saying because he's talking about how there was one hand shown. So George Floyd wasn't 100% cooperating with the police.
Okay.
So I get that. And obviously he should be nervous either way. But also a counter argument, like if he was off so much if he had so much fentanyl in his system, don't you think that he probably couldn't, comply with the police?
No, it was meth or heroin, either one of those, and fentanyl, which the drugs were laced with. So yeah, he wasn't in his right mind, and they were asking him that later on in the video, I believe. But it's like people, that's another thing that comes into factor. It's like, is this person on drugs right now? Why isn't he complying? Like somebody could be out of their mind.
Wait, keep the video. Play the rest of the video.
Okay, I'll play the rest of the video, and I'm gonna say this though, Z, because he does end up getting back up at some point. It gets to a point where there's about 4 other guys with him. So then it's like you guys can't apprehend one gentleman.
No. You're gonna see why they can't. George Floyd, by the way, is a big guy. Like he was like 250. Like,
yeah, no. See, both his hands are up.
Both his hands are up now.
Okay.
The gun's still out.
Wait, what did he say?
This is my friend. He said, "This is my friend."
No, he said, "Put your foot back in." The cop did.
Okay, well, when I say, let me see your hands, put your hands on.
He's the police officer's cussing. You just
now he still has his gun out.
Is he just supposed to? No. The thing is, if pause it real quick. If you're pulling your gun out, and somebody starts to comply, right? Like, you're not just automatically gonna reholster it. Like that's.
I'm not saying reholster, but you could still put it down, like with it in your hand, type shit. Like you don't have to point it at
to your side. It's basically.
Guys, let's try and get through the video though, so we don't spend too much time on this because we have other topics. All right, so let's.
He puts it away now.
Yeah.
Step out of the vehicle, step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step out and face away. Please don't shoot me, please, man. I'm not gonna shoot you. Step out and face away. I'm gonna get out of here, man. Please don't shoot me, man. Please, man. I just lost my mom, man. Step out and face away. Step out and face away. Please don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. Please don't shoot me, man. Step out and face away. You're not shooting me, man. I'm not shooting you. Step out and face away. Okay. Please, man.
This is obviously just like over the top.
I'm gonna kind of go through so we can get to the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, this is no. This is a very key part though. I'm not gonna lie. You might not want to go through it. If it gets here, right, and they try to handcuff him, which I think they do.
Yeah, I think they got him in hands. I think they got.
Yeah, you're gonna see what happens next.
He said we're figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, that's what you do as a cop. Like you don't know what's going on, so it's like you need to,
He's responding to a call.
I mean, he has some level of understanding, so I mean, he should know 70% of what's going on.
No, but a call is different from the actual situation. Like the call can have anything.
He's talking to the people right now. Okay, so here we go.
Is this Chauvin?
No, Chauvin doesn't pull up yet. He was the backup actually. These initial officers, they were trying to restrain him in the call for backup, which is
okay. The car's right there.
Yes.
So how the fuck does he not end up in his damn car?
Watch.
I'm leaving. Y'all telling you, man. I'm not on the man. I'm not.
Now they're searching him.
Yeah, I see. They're searching him. Still trying to get him to the car. All right. So, so are they struggling to get him in the car? Z?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. You're gonna see
All
why.
right. He's almost in the car.
He's not going in though.
But dude, like, you
Keep watching.
serious?
Keep watching.
He's in the car.
Hey, don't skip him. Don't skip anymore. Just leave it. Leave it.
Yeah, just yeah.
Now that looks like Chauvin there.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they try to come to the other side and pull him, right? And this is how we end up on the other side of the car.
He's in the car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It appears.
Just watch.
Okay. He said, I
I
can't
heard
breathe.
that. I heard he can't breathe. Why did he pull him out the car?
Yeah. So why are they pulling?
No, you didn't hear what he said. You didn't hear what he said. He said, I'm falling down. I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall. He's not, he's trying to come out of the car.
So you know what? Okay, so look. Wait, pause it, Kev, real quick. So he's pretty deep in the car if he fell out on the other side, correct?
I'm
If I'm a
surprised they didn't
normal-
just close the doors on his ass.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. I don't know why you just don't close one door because he's pretty deep in on one side and then push his legs in and he's laying down. Like, worst case scenario, he's back down in the back of a cop car. You know what I mean? How the hell do you let a nigga go from one side of the car to the other?
out of the guy.
To outside of the car. Like, what, like,
Actually, like, essentially, like, struggled his way outside of the car. Like, you have to
and even if he did go to the ground, how come he didn't just, why didn't they just redo that again and just put him back in the car?
No, they're waiting for a backup for somebody to help. And essentially, that's when Chauvin did what he did and kneeled on his neck for, like, a restraint. But they were trying, apparently they're trying their best to get him into the car, but he was making it so difficult that the officers, they couldn't. And
Dude, but look. How strong do you feel like police officers should be? Like in your own, like in like a
And I want everyone
one
to
two
answer
sentence,
this.
like 1 2 sentence answer. Like, how strong do you believe a normal police officer should be?
All right, well, I'm gonna say it's not gonna be 1 2 cents. But I will say this: police officers need to have a certain level of fitness. I 100% agree with that. But not every police officer is gonna be Swole McSwolson.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say you said that.
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying that the police officers aren't necessarily tested on just brute strength. They're more tested on, like, you know, cardio and you know, more routine things. And in this day and age, police officers are honestly lacking in training. And so I would agree with your point. Like, yeah, police officers definitely need to be more fit. But George Floyd, again, was a bigger guy. And when you have somebody like in your like possession, let's just say, and they're making it extremely hard to restrain them, it gets very tiring. And that person, even if they have hands behind their back, can make an easy situation seemingly very hard. So I think we have to sit in the mind of the officers and kind of see what they're thinking.
So how strong do you think a police officer should be?
Are we talking about bench press, like squat?
No. I'm not talking about bench press, but like, do you believe? Okay, you know what? I'm honestly I really do think if George Floyd hands behind his back in handcuffs, I think all three of us could get him in a car. I really do think all three of us at one time could push him into a car. I'm being 100% honest. I really do think so.
That's what we say now, but I in my opinion, I would say that it looks easier.
I never know. Look, that's the thing. And also, like back to Kevin's point, like, being a cop is not supposed to be easy. Their job is supposed to get him into that cop car, whether it takes them 10 minutes or 5 hours
or 2 days.
They're not supposed to kill him. That's not the end goal.
Okay, a couple of things there. I never said their job was supposed to be easy. And also, I agree they maybe should have tried again and not just held him and restrained him on the floor.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that he made it hard enough to where the cops, they essentially figured that it was better to stay where they were as opposed to try
Okay.
again.
Well,
And
guys,
the mentality was not saying that that was correct or not. I'm saying that in a legal point of view, like they didn't necessarily do anything wrong if they want to just
Okay.
restrain him on the floor for a
well,
second.
guys, I hate to cut this conversation off, but I want to hear the closing argument of everyone.
Okay.
Should I start?
Yeah.
All right. My closing argument, man. Do I think every cop killing is a racist killing? No, I don't. That being said, cops kill a lot of people every year, right? So, Z, you sent me a video. There was one video, dude was like, hey, they kill more white people in a year than they do black. Well, proportionately, we're unequal. But then proportionally, it seems that the percentages point.
But that's a whole other conversation. And we're talking about
Okay. Fuck it. Let me just say this, man. I just feel cops, they come to a scene. Every time they come to a scene, they got 15 things on their belt and they have the opportunity to call for backup every time. Every time someone gets stopped or they have a confrontation, it's usually just them. I feel like cops come into every situation with an advantage. So when it doesn't end up in a way where both parties can walk free, there needs to really be an investigation as to why. And sometimes I just feel with a lot of things that have gone on recently, it has not been in the cops' favor for the outcomes that have come out. And that's my closing statement.
Okay, my closing statement, let's just say like on all of these police shootings, I think that police officers need more training, and I would prefer them train something like jujitsu so they can, efficiently take somebody down without having to use lethal force. Let's just say, right? Not that Ma'Khia Bryant wasn't unjustified. I'm just saying that in every police officer, if they had that, weapon in their arsenal, they would be more efficient in their job. Now, I will say that, yeah, not every police shooting is racially justified, but I will say that a lot of them are, and a lot of the ones that are unjustified shootings, they often happen to white people as well. There's a lot of them that the media just doesn't show because it doesn't go against it goes against their narrative that they're trying to feed people. So to close, essentially, I think that the mentality with cops could improve, but we're not put into a political climate where that improvement is incentivized. Instead, it's looked down upon.
Okay. P.
And I'm gonna say my closing statement is actually close to Z's too. It's like police need to be trained, and I think the only thing that I would change from Z is how it's being looked down upon. I think probably like there was like not probably, there was a good stretch in time where police officers probably could have got their act together and been trained up to the point where they can handle these situations that they've mishandled as of like the last year, 2-3 years. And now it's like, it's almost, well, hold on. It's almost like it's too late now. They're looked as villains. And when they could have been trained properly, they weren't. So why the hell would we want to train them properly now? Obviously, like I would obviously want to put money into training them properly. But I mean, we thought that was a solution. And look where we are.
They have a lot of money already.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what I'm saying.
We're gonna have to cut this conversation, guys. We're gonna have to cut this and move on.
No, you're forgetting the defund the police movement. Like that.
That's what I'm saying. But like before it was defund the police could have been trained. You know what I mean? They could have been trained up to this point, but they're not. They weren't.
Sure.
All right, gentlemen.
That's how I feel. But
coming off of that, guys, we have some lighter topics to finish up, man.
We should wrap this up in 30 minutes, bro. This has been long.
It has been very long, yes.
This would be a 2 hour and 30 podcast.
We have some lighter. I've broken it up in chunks, luckily, in terms of recording, so we should be fine. But anyways, coming off of that, guys, a lot has changed in the world, man, since we were kids, bro. As far as gender relationships and stuff like that. And all of us are young men in this conversation. I currently have a girlfriend. Z, do you have a girlfriend?
Nah.
No? Okay. You may be upsetting a woman out there, Patrick.
No.
You have a girlfriend? No? Okay. So I got 2 bachelors with me, man. And so, what do you guys feel like with this climate, bro? The dating world. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Oh
Tell me your
man,
thoughts.
what a great topic and question, and I love it.
Uh,
I want to say that the modern women of today make it so that the dating climate is one that men don't want to be a part of. At least high value men and intelligent men don't want to be a part of, because the beta male, the simp who's always gonna kiss up to women, is always gonna he's always gonna find a positive with, you know what I mean, with whatever women do. And so he's not gonna hold them accountable. You know, he's not gonna check them when they need to be checked. But the intelligent man, like there's a lot of people who are essentially, you know, really taking a, you know, accurate and calculated look at the women that they mingle with, because in this day and age it means life or death, literally. I mean, it's not just, you know what I'm saying, I'm about to you know mess with this girl. It's like, does she have the incentive to make something up about me? You know what I mean? Like, is she even high quality enough for me to consider? Is, you know, so there's a lot of different things that we have to take into account, and it's not just about
do you feel that this is vice versa as well for women?
women have it easier than men though in nearly every single area of their life. I mean, the fact that a woman can essentially just start an OnlyFans and start making thousands of dollars a month, you know what I mean? Like, that's just one
So,
example, but it's just it makes a lot of things easier to conceptualize. Like, women literally live life on hard mode. Like, women just have to show up,
but
and just
women,
That
okay,
I'm gonna have to disagree on that. Women don't just have to show up. That's not true.
because women would argue this. They're gonna say, "But no, Z, I have to wear makeup to look good for you." Right? They're gonna say,
I prefer no makeup, but okay.
right, and they take offense to that too when someone says they prefer no makeup, right? And then women will say, but we're at the bottom of the totem pole of humanity in terms of how they've been treated, right? They couldn't vote for a very long time, stuff like that, women's rights. What do you,
Women
how about that?
women are at the most advantageous position they've ever been in. They are above men in society. Men throughout history have actually been the disposable sex. Like, for example, like in the situation of war brides, when a rivaling tribe would kill another tribe, they wouldn't kill the women, they would kill the men and leave the women to
But
obviously.
imagine though, they use the women simply for breeding purposes almost.
Yeah, they would rape the
Yes,
women.
yes, yes,
So,
yes. But they're not being killed. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And so
but sometimes they would rape the women and then kill them.
no. They didn't. They A lot of the times they didn't do that actually. When we bring that into modern society, what we have is men who are essentially still the disposable sex, and women who are looked at as just these
Wait,
angels, just, you know, and
what do you
it's
mean by disposable? Like, as of now, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So
Like,
actually,
wait. I want
yeah.
to wait. What do you mean by disposable? I don't get it. I don't wait.
well,
Disposable means like just kind of like the throwaway, right?
who
yes,
who can be replaced at any given point in time. So I think he's saying, right, so men, right, you can be killed today, they'll have another man for you tomorrow, whereas women,
I don't agree with, but it's how society kind of views us.
okay. So then what do you think is the big, and I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding between men and women then?
Men and women, I think that the biggest misunderstanding actually, and this might sound sexist, I guess, but it's the fact that women don't actually want to understand men.
Oh,
Women
Z, they're gonna kill you for saying that, man.
understand the world from their perspective, and when we don't capitulate to that perspective, we're looked at as, you know what I'm saying, as pieces of shit. And it's a shaming tactic used by the feminine imperative that.
Okay, I hate to cut you off, but what do men, then what do men do you feel misunderstand about women? And we're not women, so you have to guess, but what do you think we're misunderstanding about women then?
Sure. I think that for the most part, men misunderstand the way that women communicate and the way that women, the things that women care about. That this is from the perspective of somebody who doesn't understand women, not from the perspective of the average man. Because the average man, like, let's just say, like like a masculine man who understands his masculinity, he's gonna understand that there's differences between masculinity and femininity. And so the average man, let's just say, he understands the differences between men and women, but the thing that the like let's just say quote unquote the beta male doesn't understand about women is that women they communicate covertly, right? Like they don't say things out loud, and when they do, they usually don't mean it. You have to read their actions. And secondly, um, women are essentially the I'm just trying to say what men don't understand about
See,
women.
they are going to, dude, they're going to literally say, you're wrong. You're generalizing women. That's going to be the first one that they hit you with.
I
Oh,
think
the second thing I was trying to say, men don't understand that women can't love men the way men want women to love them. And
nah, I
so
can't even agree
Mm,
with that.
okay.
women,
No, that's an
Well,
interesting point. Oh, what do you mean when you say that? What do
what
you
I
mean
mean
when you
is
say that?
that, what I mean is that when we've grown up, you know what I'm saying, we've watched all the Disney movies, The Notebook or whatever. I didn't watch The Notebook, but some people did. And so
I
what
watched
happens
it too.
is that we conceptualize the love between men and women as some type of equal, Disney, fairy tales and love type of thing, but it's actually not the case. Women love a man based off of utility and what he can provide for her. And so when you have a man that can provide for a woman in that way and provide for her children, which is the feminine imperative, the imperative to reproduce, um, you essentially have a man that a woman isn't attracted to. So in order to be attractive to a woman, you have to be a high value man and not just she's not just gonna love you for who you are. You get what I'm saying? At least not for long.
It's everything that's in addition to who you are, I guess. Is what you're
100%.
saying.
That's why men's lives are, slightly harder than women's because when I say women just have to show up, a woman, Patrick, you're not expecting your woman to provide for you, but she more than likely is expecting you to provide for her.
No, for sure. In that sense, I will say I wouldn't say that a woman just has to show up because like I'm not gonna take a woman that just has to show up. I guess in other relationships it sometimes is like that. But I was talking about in the sense of like real life events type. Because if
Sure.
there's like an interview for a CEO position at a company and there's three men and one woman, the woman has to outperform the men probably two times
Yeah,
over.
she definitely has
So
to
it's
outperform those niggas.
so in those situations, yes, women definitely do not have to just show up. They have to outperform. And even with like regular sports like NCAA, like NCAA football per se. It's not NCAA men's football. It's just NCAA football. So whoever is the best at that position can get a scholarship. If a woman wanted to be better than a man that was playing in college football, they would have to perform 3-4 times better than that man. You know what I mean? That one kicker,
But not,
that one
I
quarterback
think not
type.
only that though, I would argue when a man and a woman have a breakup and they have a child, the woman is left with that child. So her life would almost inherently just be harder. Do you
Okay.
not do you not think so?
I mean, they do have to.
Let me attack all three of those
And
points.
attack it, and then Patrick, I want to hear your misunderstanding. Go ahead,
Okay,
Z.
so the first thing you brought up was that when a woman wants to become a CEO, that she's gonna have to work twice as hard. The thing that people don't necessarily realize is that the testosterone levels in men actually play a super high role in just how high we reach for things. And the natural prerogative for a woman isn't necessarily to reach for such high levels. It's in fact to acquire a man who does and raise his children. And that's how it's naturally been. And so the reason that we don't see a lot of female CEOs, a lot of female engineers, a lot of female mathematicians is not necessarily because women are being just shunned out of the room. No, it's not because of sexism. It's actually because women don't desire naturally those types of environments.
I can't
And
say I can't
so
even
you
agree.
can also look at this. No, you can also look at this because
Okay.
if you look at the areas in which women study on average in college, they on average study majors that are like more artistic, maybe more nurturing, like nursing or something like that. Whereas the
But that
men, they oftentimes study STEM career majors. And so when you look at it from that perspective, the obvious provider is going to be the man making the more money in the STEM career, whereas the woman who is in the nurturer job, not to say that nurses don't make a lot of money, but I'm just saying like in the like teachers, for example, a lot of women are teachers. 90% of our teachers were women. You know what I mean? In these jobs, we can't ignore the reality that women do have a biological difference in terms of how they want to live their lives. Now, the second point, the NCAA football point, and I want to just address these, and then you can come at me again.
For sure.
The second point, the NCAA football, right? Now, if you were to look at the viewership between any major men and women's sports, you would see that the men get viewed much more, right?
Definitely.
That's because, again, I can say a higher level of testosterone. We're faster, we're stronger, um, we're more like logically thinking. There's just a lot of different things that men are superior in than women. So like in terms of sports, like we're obviously gonna succeed, and so people are gonna tune into that type of stuff and they're gonna watch it more. And so in terms of like a woman going on to a football team, it's like I wouldn't even want to see that because a woman's body is not made for physical combat, like what I mean, like activity. It's
See,
not made for nurturing, you know what I'm saying, and sitting down and being a calm mother, and that's what I expect from most women.
Patrick, I'm
And
going, yeah.
from the third perspective, the third one, you were saying that what were you saying again?
Who, me?
No, Kevin,
It
talk to me.
was me. It was me. See, I don't remember. I don't quite remember at the moment. I'm gonna say this, man,
Okay.
and I'm going to give you the counter arguments that women would, right?
No, give me your counter argument.
No, but
LOL.
No,
Okay,
don't.
you guys
No,
will hear. Okay, I'm gonna give you the counter arguments that women will give you, and I'm gonna give you the counter arguments that I would give you.
give me yours first.
Okay. Oh, mine first. Okay. So, for example, my mother, right, would immediately tell you, you've debated with my mother before. She would immediately tell you, Kevin, look at me and who everything that I become.
mm,
I was raised because of the stereotypical notion of how women were supposed to be. I was only supposed to be a mother. That's where my mom came from. And that's what a lot of women come from, right? When you talk about 90% of teachers are women, because the generation that they came from raised women that this is what you belong in, right? And
okay,
so
so
this ties into the argument that women would also have for you because they'd be like, we were not allowed in those things. We were not raised in a sense to be put into those things because we were taught that that was not us. And so now I truly do believe this myself that women are in this revolution where they're realizing we can do everything that men can do, right? Now, yes, on the physical level, you want to talk about testosterone in sports. Sure, they can't dunk on niggas like how we can have 45-inch verticals, but they're
yeah.
realizing we can make our sports just as exciting in our own unique way. We can be CEOs of companies. We can do XYZ. We can raise men. We can because we've been doing a lot of hard shit before. Take even the women in Africa, for example. Look at the animal kingdom, right? The lion protects the pride. The lioness goes and she hunts. There's a pack of lionesses hunting.
Okay, like let me
Even though the
unpack,
lion may be the dominant one physically, the
right.
lionesses are hunting.
Let me
So
unpack a lot of what you just said. Okay. Now,
yeah.
from like I want to just say this for just everything I'm about to say. Your
Mhm.
mom is obviously an exceptional woman. I've seen what she's done, her accolades. Like she's not like normal woman type thing.
Okay, but look, okay, let me
No, no,
stop.
let me
Wait,
complete my point. Let me complete my point.
Okay,
Now
completely.
look, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of what the modern independent strong woman gets wrong is the fact that they go against their actual nature. Because when all societal obstacles are removed, biological imperatives from both genders completely start to express themselves. And so if we're still living in America, right, where I mean you could call it the most free society that we have on the planet. Not
it is.
perfect, not perfect,
Sure.
but a place where a lot of opportunity is given to people who want it.
It is.
We're still seeing these women go into teacher jobs, going to nurturing jobs. Yes, they're going into STEM jobs more and more because that's something that society is pushing on them. But what we're finding is that when women chase careers and high levels of success, they actually end up less happy than if they were to just settle down and have a family with somebody with a man who was doing that instead.
Do we have
So
two different minds? Do you believe we have two different minds? Men and women.
100%.
And do you think that is caused by the chemicals, testosterone and estrogen?
That has a part to play in it, but it's also the roles that women and men have. I mean, men are men. Another thing that you said, it was the whole lioness and lion thing. You're absolutely correct, but it doesn't necessarily equate to human beings and our intergender dynamics.
Okay.
Us, as men, thousands of years, we've been, hunters and providers and protectors of our tribe, and women having the children, and not as human women, because lionesses are different, bro. They're strong as hell. You know what I'm saying? They compared to male lions, lionesses are almost as strong as them. But our women, bro, we have testosterone levels sometimes up to 17 times more than women. What that means is we're gonna have more type 2 muscle fibers around our body. We're gonna have higher bone density. We're gonna have a whole bunch of different stuff. Our brains are gonna develop in a different way. A lot of different things are gonna happen to us that differentiate us.
But
Okay. I want to hear Patrick.
yeah, I gotta.
I want to hear your misunderstanding. What is your biggest misunderstanding between men and women?
You said between men and women.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding between
But see, honestly, to me, I don't think there is within dating or just in general.
in general or dating, whatever the hell it may be?
But that's so hard to answer. I feel like because
Uh-huh.
it's like it's the same both ways. Like women would have a million like disconnections with us, and we have a million with them. But we look up, and probably marriage rates are probably they're probably like lower than the normal now. But you look up, and everyone's in a relationship. You know what I mean? Or they're at least talking to another woman, or they're talking to another. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think there's much disconnect between us because at the end of the day, we're all humans. And I don't know. I don't think there's much. Now I pet peeves. I mean, there's probably some on both ends. Like I know most men don't like how Z said, don't like how women communicate. And
No,
women
I said that.
no, I agree with you though. I agree with
No,
you. Like,
I wanna clarify. I said that most men don't understand how women communicate.
Okay.
okay, yeah. And
Yeah,
yeah,
we're more overt. Like if I say something to you, I mean that, right? Women, on the other hand, they say things, but their feelings change and what they do change.
and
So they're overt with their communication.
and I also because I agree with you. I'm probably 99%, but I also want to clarify that the women that don't, there's obviously women that don't communicate like this. You know what I mean? Like there's women that converse overtly, and there's women, that like the is it covertly?
Covert.
Overt.
Oh, covertly and over. Okay. But like I think it's just a generalization. But not all women converse, in the way
And
where
they
it's
are
like
the exceptions and not the rule.
for sure.
Okay. So all right.
But I will say one thing I had to touch on. Um when you said that Kevin's mom is an exceptional woman and she's not like a normal woman,
Well,
I just I can't agree. I don't agree that women don't have as much drive because their testosterone levels aren't as
okay.
high as ours.
Yeah.
Or
But I
because they
mean,
don't pursue careers in a sense. They can
you know what I
still
mean?
have,
Like,
they
and to
can
your
still
point
have
about teachers, your point
What I
about teachers, wait, hold on.
yeah.
Your point about teachers, it goes back to your point that women are just nurturers. Like they enjoy to have these nurturing jobs. Like you said, like their majors are more artistic and they're going into these nursing careers or they're wanting to be designers or graphic artists and stuff like that. So that I think that's what testifies to that. But honestly, I kind of got lost in a lot of what, but I remember exactly what you were saying. But I kind of got lost in with
I'm
my
gonna change.
my
We're gonna have to
argument.
change the subject for time. And Z, we'll always have another discussion about these things once more.
And by the way, I just thought of this. You're gonna have another woman on with me.
Absolutely. Because good God, you're gonna get us fucking cancer before we even put the goddamn thing out. Jesus Christ. Yeah, by the time I even ask a woman to come on, well, I already have for those who are watching, and there are women that I've already talked to that. But Z, goddamn. Anyways, man, we were talking about the men and women. So this brings us to our last topic of the day, guys: gender. Okay, and the sexes and what that means today, and has that changed or has that always been a thing? And so, you know, we're seeing, guys. I was reading something the other day. It was a transgender, I think it was a transgender woman, someone who had transitioned to be a woman, was breaking like records in weightlifting, right? And I was like, and like in the women's category though, you feel me?
Yeah.
So I was like, this person had been living with testosterone for like 20 plus years, right? And whatever they had. And they transitioned and now they're in the women's sector and they are beating all the damn women at everything that they do. And I was like, I don't know about this. You feel me? And so give me your thoughts, man, with the example I just kind of giving you guys. Give me your thoughts on some of these things.
Um, I will say that there is a fundamental difference between men and women, right? Like I just kind of went over that. And if that difference is ignored, then we're gonna have a lot of dangerous instances. Not only where men are just taking over women's sports like weightlifting, but where, for example, like the UFC fighter who got her head bashed in pretty much by a transgender woman, which is pretty much a man. We're gonna have a lot more instances like that. So if we don't come to a fundamental understanding that men are men, women are women, and there's nothing you can do to change that, then we're gonna
How do
be
you
on.
feel? How do you feel when people say, okay, because now the term is I identify as X, I identify as Y, right? So a lot of people say whatever gender you're assigned at birth is technically not true, right? So, and some people would say that's contradicting because for other reasons, because people trust science in some avenues and don't in some avenues. But do you feel that the gender you're given at birth is true?
100%. Not only is it true, it literally, in my opinion, dictates how you're going to live your life. Which
I
might
can't
seem
agree.
crazy thing to say, right?
Patrick, you don't agree? Can Patrick chip in? Let Patrick say before you give your. Why, Patrick? Why don't you agree?
The only reason I don't agree is because, like, okay, obviously, yes, women, in the general sense, the man is going to go to college, the woman's going to go to college, the man is going to find a career, the woman is going to marry the man, she's going to stay at home, provide for the child, and the man is going to go out and get the money. But just because a woman is born a woman doesn't mean that woman is going to follow that exact same path every single time. And it
That's
doesn't
not
even mean that more than half the time. So I mean, like, just because like a woman is born a woman, she doesn't have a life path that she's going to have to follow. You know what I mean?
that's not necessarily what I'm saying. When I say that it dictates how you're gonna live your life, what I mean is that as a guy, we're going to have, and there's obviously exceptions to this rule, but we're going to have different ways that we view the world,
Oh, for
and
sure.
we can't ignore that, and that's the whole problem. And it even goes back to the disconnect between men and women. The entire disconnect, if you wanted to sum it up in words, is that we're ignoring our differences. You know what I
Yeah, because
mean?
there's a lot of things that women have to worry about that we don't too, and the same
So,
vice versa.
so
Like,
then, but to keep it on track, then, so then, like, take the term gender fluid for example, right? People claiming, okay, dude, I may feel that I am a man today, or maybe actually no, I'm a woman the other day, or my gender doesn't matter to me, so I can participate in both things that the sexes do. Do you think that is an issue, I guess, as people begin to live their lives?
let me just
Because
say, or I'll just say my point. I don't think it's an issue. Um, but I will say, like, to say what Z was, or to piggyback off what Z was saying, we have to come down to a point where it's like we have to talk about a scientific term and point of view of
Mhm.
it, but we also have to view it as like a morally right point, I guess. So I could care less if you try to identify yourself as gender fluid, or I don't really care about my gender, because that's how you want to live your life. And I can't tell you how to live your life. I'm not God.
Mhm.
But
But I
however,
think I
yeah,
think like you said, like, if I wanted to go play in the or if LeBron wanted to go play in the WNBA, I mean, we have to come down to, like Z said, we have to come to a point where okay, is LeBron literally now a woman? Is that how we're going to classify him? Or are we just going to always take into account that LeBron James was a man born?
That's
And I think
that's pretty well thought out, Patrick. That's pretty well
that's
thought
that's what I think.
out. See?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Patrick. I mean, you said, and I think you kind of answered this in a little bit, but you said that you know, you don't really care what you identify as. However, would you start to care? Let's say for example, like one day you have a daughter, for example, right? And your daughter is in the bathroom, and a guy who identifies as a girl goes in the bathroom with her and ends up molesting her. You know, would you care then?
Yeah, I would care that my daughter was being molested. Yeah.
And would you care that the reason that she was able to be molested is because society accepts this identification of being a woman, even though that person was born a man?
That's not the reason
Now,
the
well,
person
well,
got
let me wait, hold
molested
on. Let
would
me
be.
wait.
Okay.
I mean, society accepts a man for being a man and a woman for being a woman. So in any case, a woman could have walked into that bathroom and molested my daughter, or a man could have walked into that bathroom and molested my daughter, as well as a man classified as a woman went in and molested my daughter. So that honestly has no effect on what my daughter being molested at all.
Wait,
It has no factor into it.
a man going into the girls' restroom has no effect on whether or not a woman is likely to be molested?
I'm not. The gender has no effect on that happening. A woman could walk into a woman's restroom and molest a woman.
Yeah, it's a true statement.
But are we gonna, okay, so we understand that the large majority of rapists are men, right?
I mean, if that's a statistical, if that's, I mean, it seems like it would be that way.
Yeah,
So I guess if that's statistically correct, then yeah. You said what?
Yeah, we have way higher sex drives than women. I mean, and some men can't control it until they rape. So let's just, yeah. And so essentially what I'm saying is that if a man were to identify as a woman and he was to go into the restroom and rape somebody, then what has to be called into question is not, you know, just the fact that they were able to rape them, but the fact that this different gender was able to go into a different bathroom and rape that person. Not just that, you know, anybody could rape them, but that had that
Is
for sure, but
rules to set aside that person to their own bathroom, this wouldn't even happen in the first place.
Is there a
so the
different
problem is that they don't have
analogy?
their own bathroom. That's the problem. That they,
The DJ Mike.
I'm sorry. I'm just asking. Is there a different analogy you could?
yeah,
make?
because the bathroom one was kind
Yeah,
of.
because I just feel the bathroom one is a little. You know what I'm saying? Is there a different analogy? So okay, take the UFC, right? The UFC joint. Your daughter Patrick is playing. Has been doing UFC right her whole life. You've been training her to fight, right?
Yeah.
Then one day a man decides to transition to become a woman. He goes and he beats the shit out of your daughter. Absolutely fucking murders her.
And that's what
Right?
and that goes back to the point when I'm like, when I told you that LeBron couldn't be classified as a woman, or if he could, because you know what I mean? Like he's been classified as a man his whole life, and now they want to classify him as a woman. Because when it comes to those like AAU tournaments or you know these high school football games, you have to sign a, you know, you're signing a not a contract, but you're
but you signed
the
the thing. It asks you, are you male or female? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at that point, we have to be like, okay, we're gonna go through the scientific, literal term of what this one being is. And if there was a 16-year-old, 200-pound man fighting my 160-pound daughter in a UFC match, and he absolutely like sends her to the hospital and she is like
incapacitated.
Incapacitated. Yes, I would be kind of upset for sure if that's what the legal terms had led. But as far as like everyday living, it doesn't matter to me.
I think we found our first agreement in here, guys. I do think we have found our first agreement. I feel like I'm going to say something that we can all agree to. In the social setting, in someone's personal life, it should not matter what you identify as at all. In the job setting, whatever. But then in instances where there may be a competitive advantage from having testosterone, right?
Right.
And how long someone has had it, AKA a man who has now transitioned to be a woman at 25 years old. He's lived with testosterone for 25 years.
Right.
That is when the consideration for, okay, we need the scientific, what were you assigned at birth in order to differentiate between performances, correct? You see what I'm saying? So then if we go run track, we make sure, okay, everyone who runs track with us, right, was born at birth so that we don't have this competitive advantage of testosterone being in play. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think we found our first agreement.
I agree on that. How do you feel about the social setting, Z? Like
The social setting?
Jesus
like
Christ,
people
Patrick.
classifying
God
it.
damn.
What?
I'm kidding.
Oh no, I'm no. Let me know if I'm boxing you in. I was just curious.
Oh, I wanna hear your question. I don't really know what your question is.
Oh no, I was just asking like, how do you feel about like people being like gender fluid, like in just a social setting, like just living life?
Look, it's at the end of the day, it is their decision. However, I do think that society is under no obligation to accept that person as whatever they identify as. Because
I agree.
let's just say that person goes into a hospital and they need some type of surgery or something. The doctor is gonna ask, "Hey, are you a man or a woman?" And if you don't give them accurate information, that could end up costing your life.
But then they also say like, I do not prefer. So either way, it's gonna get answered. If I'm a man and I right now, like I'm like, guys, I'm a woman now. I could go into every survey and be like, I'm a female. And then
what's crazy though, Patrick? A lot of these surveys don't have that. I'm not even kidding.
I've actually
a lot of these
every survey I've had in the last couple of years has had do not prefer.
You know, it's weird. Every survey I've done maybe this is me, but every survey in the past couple months that I've done has been very male. And it actually surprises me every time I see it because I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to, and actually, matter of fact, my school survey in regards to the intramural sports league here. Really? I'm like 99% sure based off my memory. I may be wrong. That shit was either you male or female, I guess for medical purposes, like Z said, because shit like that may end up costing you your life.
Right, but what my question is, what is it that defines a woman or a man?
See, that's the thing. We're not, and I'm not gonna even try to attempt to.
I'm gonna tell you from the scientific thing. They would say in science, right? When you go in, because humans are only animals, right? At the end of the day, right? We think we're special, but that's up for debate. Right. In science, if you go and you take a cell out of something, right, plant, animal cell, it's going to have an XY chromosome, designation within that DNA, correct? So if you take it out and it says double X, okay, then now that exactly. So but then in science there's anomalies. So there are things that have XXYs, right? Or I think there's an XXY where someone could technically be both. There's children who are born with both.
Such a small number of people that it's honestly not even worth.
That's what I'm saying. There are anomalies in science, right? So, and then there's species in the animal kingdom that can change their gender upon request, depending on what nature holds for them, whether they need to be male at the time in order for breeding purposes strictly, right? So you see what I'm saying? So that would be the quote unquote classification for what's man and woman. Now that being said,
I gotta leave in 5 minutes.
That's fine. But yeah, Z, I'm gonna let you wrap it up.
Yeah, it's been great, man. Like I had a lot of fun with this conversation, and I hope to have many more.
Definitely gonna have to have another one. This is.
I hope you're our first in-person conversation. Like I hope we can all be in one setting.
Oh, that'd be tough.
Yeah.
A lot of laughing. Oh my god.
And we'll just talk about next time. Let's just talk about like fun shit. You know what I mean?
Okay, but Patrick, you have to know inevitably that it's gonna take a path.
It will take a turn, but I wanted to take a fun turn.
We once argued for the listeners whether the fucking sky was blue. It was whether the sky. We were arguing about the Earth being round for fucking an hour in the car, and it didn't stop. And I remember I was looking up in the sky like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? But Z, I'm glad to have you. This one's gonna get us canceled for sure, Patrick. I just assume we're just gonna have to go ahead and just cancel the whole.
Yeah, we're gonna have a clip. There's gonna be a clip on YouTube, breaking news. Patrick says he hates women, and they're gonna take a clip out of me saying,
"Jesus Christ,
I hate women."
I'm probably just gonna post this last segment so people understand, and I'm gonna have to make a thing, which literally the intro for this Patrick is gonna be warning, like leave your thoughts and your feelings at the door. Because this is a very objectifying conversation.
I like that.
We're gonna have the guys, for the listeners. We'll have women here very, very soon. So don't fucking fret. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully a woman decides to debate Z on some of these things. Jesus Christ. But Yeah, Patrick, it was nice knowing you. Nice knowing the podcast. It was nice knowing you as well, Z.
Yeah, Z, this is our final.
This is our final. This is evidently our final one because after the topics and what was discussed, no doubt in my mind, I'm gonna get some inboxes and some disapprovals. But you know, it's funny for everyone that I do get, I'm gonna tell those people come on the pod, man. If you want to, if you're watching this, if you want to debate or you think someone said that was wrong, whether it be me, Z, P, tell us. Come on the pod and explain.
Because I got to defend myself, bro. I'm not.
Yeah. Don't just, you know what I'm saying? Don't just fucking slander us all damn day and don't want to say shit. So you know what I'm saying? But Z, I appreciate you, man. You gave us the
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
I'm gonna literally nickname this one controversy. Episode 4, what controversy was Zidane.
Love it.
McNeil, bro. I'm Jesus Christ. This one will air this Friday. Right, P?
Yes, sir.
But all right, man.
Thank
all right,
you.
P.
Y'all have a good rest of y'all Sunday.
Yep, you too, man.
Rest up.
All right, Mike.